A lot of people are really thinking that everything they do through these apps are going to be put on this 1099K and they're going to pay taxes on it. And that's not true at this point.
Debbie, help.
Today we want to talk about some keywords, 1099K and a new $600 limit. There are a lot of people out there that are, for lack of better terms, they're kind of freaking out over getting a 1099 because they're selling or transferring money through an electronic service. One of those may be Venmo, PayPal, CASHAPP.
Yeah, and I think, Debbie, we had a conversation before we started this presentation, and I thought the real good news is that if I'm using like Venmo and I'm just transferring money, if I set it up right, and I'm doing it right starting now, when we get to the end of the year, then you won't be reporting those transactions. So that was my real takeaway in our discussion. So the first thing is the law changed. It changed in March of 2021, saying that starting January 1st of 2022, that anything like credit cards under a certain amount, things like PayPal, third-party transactor, Venmo, eBay, all those things now are going to have to report a 1099K if you or I have transactions of over $600.
Right. And let's step back a minute. 1099K is not a new thing.
Yeah.
The limit, though, on that used to be $20,000. So this was not on the radar of a lot of our small businesses because they just weren't worried about it. Or if you were selling your kids' old shoes that they're done with on eBay, you were ever thinking about getting a 1099K. So now the 1099K has really moved on to basically everyone's radar that has eBay, Venmo, PayPal,
Marketplace,
Etsy, any of them. Yeah. So now you have to be aware. And so let's talk a little bit about who's going to get a 1099K and for what.
Yeah, so, well, the other thing I also took away, I was talking to Will, my son, out here a while ago, and he kind of did, General Will, he just said, well, Dad, if you've been reporting the stuff right already, there's nothing changed. Nothing has changed. But then my daughter says, but Dad, you don't understand. I'm a mother and I sell stuff, but I'm selling my kids' clothes.
Right.
So William comes from the concept, he's got a little business, and my daughter comes from the concept, I'm a mom. So I think in that, if we can kind of divide this up. So for example, let's look at like a eBay and that kind of platform. And what's the...
Yeah, so if you're selling on eBay.
And someone like Etsy, is that it?
Yeah, eBay and Etsy, those are selling platforms. If you sell over $600 worth in 2022, you're going to get a 1099K. Are those transactions taxable? We're not sure. If you're just selling, let's say you have a pair of jeans that you want to sell for $20, you paid $50, that is not a reportable transaction necessarily, but you still have to track that on your tax return because if you go over $600, it's going to be in there. You're going to get a 1099K. You're going to have to report it, but you can show that you paid.
So that's
more
what I'm doing.
That.
So I'm using like an eBay, for example, for just like my daughter. I'm just selling my kids' clothes to pick up a little bit more to go back and buy more expensive. The big change is the fact that at the end of the year, she's going to get a 1099K if she sells over $600 in value on that, and so she's going to have to keep track and say, well, my cost was $2,000, and then it goes away. So there, you still need to, I go to sell the item, what was my cost? And that personal item, the only time you have to report that, and this has been the law, the tax law, if I sell something for more than I bought it for, and it's personal, I still have to report that on my return. That law has never changed.
Correct.
So that's a big one. So, but then let's look at, in the business world, there's a lot of people out there, and especially this pandemic, that's been doing, kind of a little supplemental income, and they've stayed kind of under that $20,000 number. Now it's at $600. Now they're going to have to report their sales, and they have to report the cost of those sales, but they should have already been doing that.
Right. As a small business, we always tell of our clients, hey, set up a separate bank account for your small business and keep business separate from personal. Well, now you need to make sure you're doing that, whether it's PayPal or Venmo. You want to make sure you have a separate account for business and a separate account for personal. Here's why. If you want to send your kid $100 while they're at college, you don't want that to be included in your reportable transactions. So, and they won't be. If you have a Venmo account that's set up as personal, you have a PayPal account that's set up as personal, those are not going to be tracked on this 1099K.
That's transfer of money and stuff.
That's just transferring money. Or if I bought some milk for a friend when I ran to the store and she's going to send me my $4 back because I bought her milk, that's personal.
Yeah.
Just things like that. A lot of people are really thinking that everything they do through these apps are going to be put on this 1099K and they're going to pay taxes on it, and that's not true at this point.
Debbie, help me out here. We were talking about like eBay, where it's a platform to sell. Then we moved over here to a Venmo or PayPal. There it can be just transferring money, or it could be a transaction, not just movement of money back and forth.
Venmo and PayPal both have it set up to where when you go and set up an account, you can choose whether it's a personal account where you're just transferring money back and forth between your kids or your friends or whatever it may be. And then you also have the business side. So if you have a business, you should have a business Venmo or a business PayPal because those are reportable transactions. They were before this new 1099K law came out. It was already reportable. So if you weren't doing it, you need to make sure you start now.
So now we've done the platform like a eBay or SD, or now we're going to do Venmo, PayPal. Let's go to another one that's kind of a little different, and that's Facebook Marketplace. Because there, kind of walk me through how that does it.
So let's back up a second. 1099K is going to be transactions that were done electronically.
Correct.
So with Facebook Marketplace, if you're selling your kid's bike and you're going to meet Joe at the parking lot of the grocery store.
Is that why they meet out here in the front all the time? I see so many of these transactions.
He's going to hand you cash.
Yeah.
If you sold that bike for a loss, that's not a reportable transaction. You're just selling the bike. And Facebook Marketplace isn't going to track it. They're not going to send you a 1099K. But there is a new feature on Facebook Marketplace where you can actually check out through them and they'll allow the people to pay through them and then they'll send the money to you. I personally haven't used it yet, but it is there. If you do it that way, that's no different than selling through eBay or Etsy. They're going to track if you gotten $600 for the year or not, and they're going to send you a 1099K.
So kind of a little bit of a wrap here is that if I sell something electronically, and that's an electronic payment, first, if it goes over $600 on any of these platforms, I'm going to get a 1099K. And as the law has been for years, you got to first say, is it a personal item? If it is, then it's personal, and you're probably always going to have more costs than what you sold it for. So you're still going to have to, the difference is you're going to have to report that 1099K, and we'll do that, show you how to report that in a different video. But then over on the business side, then it's nothing's really changed. You should be keeping track of your sale price, your cost, and any related expenses. So there's nothing really different there. I think there's a fourth kind of area, and that's in this gig economy where that I've got, like for example, I have a Square, and I do some minor transactions, and it was $15,000, $18,000 a year in the past. All of a sudden, I'm going to get a 1099 there. So this is really toward this. They're looking at saying there's all this unreported income in what we call the gig economy, and that's what all these things we've been describing as a small business is. Especially with the pandemic, there all these little companies working from home, making things and selling it online. So there's going to be millions of these 1099Ks coming out. And what I think, kind of to our takeaway is we've got an overview here. Don't get excited. But our big thing to say to you, one, don't get excited. And secondly, is start tracking your stuffing now and not try to do it next year. We actually have other videos down below. If you look down on our page, there are videos on how to track expenses, what's deductible. We even have videos on gig businesses. So you can go through, see below on all of our other videos, and then we're going to keep up with this. There are going to be other videos. There will be further developments with this because it's getting a lot of attention and people are asking a lot of questions. And I think also to follow up on this overview, we're going to do kind of a little series of the accounting for the 1099K, and what's personal, what's business, and what's a hobby, and then actually go in to do a little short snippet on like eBay, and then do a short snippet on PayPal. Because if I'm looking at this and I only have one of these, then I want to know about it. So I think that's will be our next takeaway, really, is to do a series here over the next few days and drill down into the eBay or the Facebook or PayPal. So I hope this helps. Again, we try to get out right quick. Please subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video. And Debbie,
have a great day.
Thank you.